We'll try that again. Hello, everybody. Greetings from Muskoka, Canada, where this will be my last Friday call from here, and then we'll be back home. And Stephanie's not at home either. She is over in Orlando, and her time is short because she's getting ready to go in and see a keynote speech. So, Stephanie, why don't you tell us where you are and what's going on?
Well, hi everybody. I am in Orlando with Mickey Mouse and the Arc of Florida. So this weekend is their inaugural Advocacy Days conference, and Representative Allison Tant is going to come speak in about 10 minutes. And they're going to have all sorts of breakout sessions. And I really I've seen so many families here. So I really hope that we can get other people on board, go meet with their legislators. It has been a kicking week. Like, my inbox was filled with the fruit of what we've been doing. There's been a ton of families that have met with their legislators and had incredible outcomes from it. So I'm going to let Tom share all that. I just wanted to come and say hi, and I'll pop back in after Allison speaks and see where we're at.
Well, you can do more than that.
Oh, I can do more than that?
Yeah. Why don't you talk a little bit about continued recruitment, looking for any help that you might need, and some of that stuff before you go in?
Yeah, one of the things that I really want people to get word out about is our delegation meetings. That is a super meeting where you get to meet with all your area representatives and whoever your senator is, all at the same place. Plus, your community gets to hear the message. And the delegation meetings that have gone on so far have been incredible. So if you're on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/We the People 2024. If you want to put that in the chat, Todd, I can't handle that right now. We have every event for the delegation meetings near you listed. And I would love, even if you're not sure if you can go, get interested in the event, so that way you can connect with the families around you, and maybe you guys could go see your legislator together. I would really like some help if somebody is able to get with me to get families that have filled out the form with their counties to know about their legislative delegation meetings, because that's just, I don't know, the fish in a barrel. It's a really awesome opportunity. I recently went to our delegation meeting, and I thought my only objective was I was meeting in front of these to my local area reps to talk about my own personal story. But I ended up meeting several individuals in the community and some organizations, and learned about things I didn't even know that were happening in our area, which there's just a ton of fruit coming from those. But the biggest thing is you get heard, you become a automatically. Oh wait, okay, all right. And I'm a little scattered because I'm driving all day. But one of the really cool things that happened to me personally this week is I got to get in touch with the Senate healthcare policy team, and holy moly, I wasn't sure what to expect with that. But we talked for over an hour. And the more that I've talked with them, the more they want to know about what we're doing. So I met with
Could you say again who that was you met with?
Blanket on the name. So I know the girl is Allie Cleary.
No, what role did they have?
They are the senior healthcare policy staff for the Senate. I think Senator Pasadomo, but it might be the whole Senate. Anywho, the big news is that he wants me to send him all of our stories. So if you have not filled out the form, and I'm gonna have Tom can you put that in the chat, Tom?
I am having a little technical moment here, so I will follow up.
I'll work that out in a little bit. If you haven't filled that out, please fill it out. Bring it to your local legislator. Tom's going to share about other people that have done this. It's catching on already. There's really about 75 that have been fully filled out. And if you did fill it out and didn't receive an email from me, let us know. But there's about 75 that have been filled out, and we want, there's 55,000+ of us. We want everybody to fill this out. Bring it to your local legislators and then we'll just scoop around, bring it to Tallahassee, and just keep talking about our story, because we are humans. We are here to connect. We want our legislators to know who we are and to care enough to make us a priority this year. That's the point of this group. That's what we're going to do. And we're just going to keep saying the same message. We want you to know about us. We want to get to know you. And we want to become resources for you. One of the things I keep learning more and more is how much education I have to offer just based on what I know and my experiences for these legislators, and they love it because they want, once you know how to help, then you want to help. And that's kind of been not just my story, but we've got like, I don't know, maybe like 10 families this week that have reported like they want to know more. I just want to talk about this one thing and they want to know more. So that is like an incredible opportunity for us all to keep talking, do the story. As far as how we could expand our help, if you have tech skills, if you're like a super savvy social media buff, I'm like in the middle. That would be incredible. If you have, if you like the phone and you want to pick up and call families and say, hey, this is what we're doing, and connect with other families, that would be helpful. The biggest thing is we want as many people to know what our mission is. And our
Can I
mission
add something
is,
there? And if,
oh yeah, you told me to keep going.
and if English is not your primary language, please recruit others. And we want to diversify this
Yes.
culturally and communicate across languages. And you can translate it back to us in English, because we'd like to do some of these in native languages. And we're looking for help across that diversification as well, because it's really important.
And Stephanie,
yeah, go for it.
Donna Geisdorf, and I'm from Sarasota, and we are currently mobilizing for our delegation meeting at the end of October. I feel kind of lucky that we've got that space, that time, but I intend to print out the little stories you have so beautifully put together and make booklets to bring with us to pass out to the delegates. So we're excited.
Awesome.
Yeah. We're excited.
I'm going to that one. That's the only other one that
good.
I have like the opportunity, like kids are in school that day. That one I'm going to go and hang out with you guys and speak with you, because there is a good group. And if you, like, that's the thing, we could all go together to some of these, you know?
Well, I look forward to meeting you, because you are a rock star. You really are amazing.
So Stephanie,
I'm a nerd with the design stuff. Yeah, I gotta run. I'm gonna go eat dinner. I hope they're feeding us something yummy in there, but it's beautiful. This is really cool. So this is the first year that ARC is doing Advocacy Days, but they're going to keep doing this. It's going to get bigger and bigger. And this is like, yeah, it's like it's filled with us. And I'm excited about this. So I'm going to let Tom do his spiel. I'll pop back on and I'll put links in the thing. You know what I mean? Like the chat box.
Thanks so much.
Bye,
Good
guys.
luck.
Okay.
So hi, everybody. So I'd love to see as many faces as possible. Got a lot of names, not so many faces. You know, this is starting to take some ground. It's starting to have some energy, starting to have some impact. And what I'd like to do is tell a little bit of a couple of stories that may be kind of inspirational. You know, one of the things that's really important is that we're heard. And the other thing that's important is that we're respected and valued, and that's really important. So one of the things that we've been really talking about is the importance of meeting your legislators, both at the delegations and speaking there, but also trying to get appointments with them and their staff. Many times you'll see their staff before you'll see them. But it is so important if you have an opportunity, and the flyer really turns out to be an excellent tool for kind of opening the door. Stephanie's been doing a great job of being able to take the input, take the forms, take the phone calls, kind of massage the message to make it concise as possible, making sure it still reflects what you wanted to express. And that's like a calling card, but it's a calling card that lingers. And then when you show up with things like, well, here's a flyer about the social services estimating conference, that may be a real solution to help deal with a program that's intended to help but has to say no because they don't have enough money. That becomes a very high level technical piece of paper that, quite honestly, we've been getting feedback from many legislative assistants. Oh, I'm not completely familiar with this, but I'll be glad to pass this on. So what we're doing is being way more than just parents or families or self-advocates. We're helping really educate folks about solutions. And that has been the other feedback that we've been getting is thank you. Thank you for coming to our office. Thank you for helping me understand that you're a constituent, that you remember we were talking about your family, and your family is your district where your legislator or your senator represents. Okay, that's the circle of family. And that family member, your legislator, they are in charge of helping identify and promote the budget to support the needs of their family. So our goal is to be able to really have communication, to really engage in a meaningful way, so that, think about it personally. If somebody's just yelling at you, do you hear them? If somebody's yelling at you because you needed it, but at the same time they gave you some good solutions as to what to do, is here's how you can fix the things, here's what I'm upset about, but here's how it can be taken care of. Now we're in a leadership role. And it's important for folks on this call to understand and appreciate how powerful we are as families. We have the greatest freedom to speak of anybody. And isn't that one of our most important liberties? And so if we exercise that freedom to speak, to tell the truth, to be able to offer solutions, that is such a democratic little d approach to what we do. That's why we name this We the People, for the people, by the people, so that we, the people that are part of that family, that have either individuals with disabilities in our family, in our circle, or are ourselves, and the we the people, for the people is we're also advocating for those around us that may not be able to speak. And by the people is because you're there. Because being by the people is being at that meeting, being at that table, talking to people. You know, I've got a friend of mine who, her son has got very significant disabilities, multi-disabled, and today's his 22nd birthday. And that means school is over. And there's been an urgency to try to get to the next steps and get things connected, and it's been a really challenging thing. And last week she went and met with her state senator staff. She had a 30-minute appointment. An hour and 15 minutes later, when she left, they thanked her, they followed up, they called the APD director, they've since called the local APD office. They have gotten engaged in trying to assist a constituent, a family member, by what's called constituent services. And they thanked this mom for coming in and for sharing the information she had about the solutions. She went into a very detailed story about the frustrations she's experiencing, the complications with the paperwork, the lack of coordination and urgency, and some of those things that have just made this tough. You know, we know what I'm talking about. But what was very important to see is that they listened. not only did they listen, they were engaged. It wasn't a legislator. They had both legislative assistants come in taking notes and doing all kinds of things. And that's a huge home run, because not only did she come in and it was like, yeah, thank you so much, goodbye. It was, thank you so much. Can we follow back up with you? We'll make a few phone calls. We're going to see how we can help. And these are really important stories. These are really important things for the legislature to begin to experience, because you live down the street from you live in another neighborhood from them. They're in your community. And by doing this, by taking the time to get the flyers made, when you go to the website, which I'm having a hard time right now doing the switch between this and the Facebook page, but has everybody been on the Facebook page? On the if you haven't been on the web page, raise your hand. You can put that little raise your hand symbol. And what we want to do is have everybody really engage in the We the People for the People website. I mean, the Facebook page, because in there are a lot of different resources that are incredibly helpful to us. Stephanie has created events, and those events are all the legislative delegations coming up. So if you indicate an interest, you hit the interested button. Now we know you might be going. That means, and you might want or need some support when you go. You may want some additional information. May want some flyers. You may want to chat a little bit about what you're thinking about doing. We'll be glad to help with that. Because yes.
Hey, it's Melissa. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties, but I just wanted to, if it's okay for me to say something about the delegation meetings. I'm not a big Facebook person, but if you are willing to go to a delegation meeting, and at least if you can just look on the Facebook page, Stephanie has all of the counties on there, when they are and where they are. And it is kind of a good way for us to really, communicate with each other. I personally am going to the Polk County delegation on Monday, the Manatee County delegation, which is this coming Thursday. Polk is on Monday. I think that's the 3rd. And then the Manatee County is on Thursday. And then the Sarasota County one, which is at the end of the month on the 26th. And then also Flagler County, but I don't recall the date off the top of my head, but I think it's the 13th, which is where Speaker Paul Renner is going to be. And right now I'm actually in Orlando, and Stephanie Norden, who's the one that does that Facebook page, she's here. And this is the ARC Advocacy Days, and there's a number of people that are here that usually are on the meeting, but there's some stuff going on here right now. And Representative Allison Tant is here, and she's gonna talk in just a little bit. So but I know that it's for some people it's uncomfortable to go to the legislators individually. I've had families that have told me that. And Hulda McKinnon is also on this call, and she lives in Sarasota County. And I had sent a email out to the Sarasota and Manatee County families in particular, because Hulda is, willing to do some stuff. She to make some phone calls, to have some conversations, and she's been an advocate for a long time. And if we can truly get every person that I speak to about all of this is just like, it's up to the families, but it's hard to just do stuff individually. And if any of you guys are able to go to delegation meetings, even if you're not comfortable talking, you do not have to speak, but just to be there to show support. Like on Monday, JJ Holmes, who lives in Seminole County, and his mom, Allison, are going to travel to Polk County to speak at their delegation. And I am also going to that as well. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the county that you live in, But even if you're just able to go to even a neighboring county, again, not having to speak, but just to show some solidarity with the other people that are going to be there and will be speaking on behalf of the people of this program, and kind of the message that we would really, there does have to be some consistency in the message that we're all giving. And one of one of the most important things would really be to have the Agency for Persons with Disabilities included in the Social Services Estimating Conference. And I didn't realize this until just a little while ago, being in Orlando right now, but there was a bill that was proposed last year to have APD put in the Social Services Estimating Conference by Representative Torres, and it didn't get any further. It just kind of died. But if that's something that, we can kind of revive, that is an independent body of people that are supposed to take a look at social services in the state of Florida and determine an amount of money that actually provides good services to that particular group of folks. And that includes veterans and children and people with developmental disabilities who are currently not included in that conference. And our group of folks should be. So if there's consistency in that particular message, also when you're talking.
That's why we've been promoting the ARC handout that is so well articulated, and encouraging people to use that as a handout. That's one of the flyers on the resource page on the Facebook page that will help you have access to that.
Hey, my name's Johan. Can people hear me?
Yep.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm on the, I had CP. I'm on the CDC, and I'm with Pierre Kelly. I know you. I saw mine. There's this delegation where it's not until in the November, and in my opinion, I do think that we need to make more demands, because a lot of children you have quality care for, like, I hire caregivers, and they have to be paid well because of inflation. And it's like, to me, it's like it's a burden not only on the on the handicapped person, it's also a burden on the caregiver.
It's also a burden on who?
On the caregivers.
Okay.
Who,
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, who they have to make sure they make enough money to help someone like me, and they have to adjust for inflation. The cost of it is going up, and I think that we have to consider that. Not like, I don't think we should compromise on certain issues, because it's really, I feel like we've been compromising for years, and if and inflation is definitely puts the strain on both the caregiver and the client itself. And I think that's really important to keep in mind, as been talking about our budget and services. I had to give a physical therapy just to make sure my caregiver gets paid, a decent amount of money. And I feel like I should have to make that decision.
I think what's some of the things that's important with your message is, have you been able to reach out to Stephanie and create kind of a message flyer and been able to look at the legislative process and engaging there?
Well, I'm very new to this.
So what
I'm
I would say
getting
is
to
the
know-
first step is let's go ahead and capture your story that can be focused and concise and clear, and so that your voice is heard, and that again, the purpose today and of our mission is to engage families to be able to communicate their stories, create those local connections with their legislators, be part of speaking at your legislative delegations, to become a resource, because the truth is most of the legislatures have no idea about what it's like to live with a developmental disability, to care for someone with a developmental disability, to be part of the services of this community. They really don't know. So the important thing is to educate on the importance and the need and solutions. And by doing that, these are the processes we use. The legislative delegations are very important. The individual meetings are very important. Having a voice in the system is critical to being able to make changes. One of the opportunities coming up is I've reached out to Berthia Ponte, and she's going to join us on a future meeting and kind of have a look back on how the heck did we get this thing started in the first place. And again, to tell the story of how important it was to have people see us for who we are and what the needs are, and invite them into our homes, and not just be an angry person, but be a resource and a persistent person. And I can tell you, we've talked about that, but Stephanie has also held up a picture of her son on a stretcher after going out of a window and almost dying. And so when we're saying, oh, you can't be nice, we're being forcefully nice, telling the truth. The truth is enough. So let's keep going on that. Now, again, the Facebook page has the events tab, and in the events tab is where you'll find the delegation information that we were referencing, that gives you the opportunity to sign up, and also gives you the opportunity to be able to get some of those supports you may be looking for to feel like you're being more successful. You know, the mom that I was talking about, the story of her son who just turned 22, 6 months ago, she said, I would have never done that. And now she felt empowered. She felt informed. She felt capable. She provided good information. And that's what we can do. And we're the only ones that get to do it. You know, the lobbyists and the organizational stuff, they hear them, but it's very different when it's in your family, when it's local, when it's that. So I know we've been harping on that a lot. It's critically important that we understand what a unique opportunity we have, you know, because we're not a politically affiliated organization. It's not a Democratic problem. It's not a Republican problem. It's the Florida citizens with the developmental disabilities need, right? So we're not asking to pick a side, but we're asking to pick families and to work and to be a resource. And so now that legislator is more than willing to call back. Stephanie followed up with one of her meetings and found that they didn't get the information that she had sent, that she had promised, because it went to their spam folder. And so when she followed up, and actually had another family that went and was mentioned to Stephanie and said, well, you know, this is the same information that she sent you. And they said, well, we never got it. And then they looked and found that it was in the spam folder. And so it's an invaluable lesson in follow up, make sure they got the stuff, make sure they've got any questions. That makes a big difference. What else we got going on tonight? Anybody else want to share any kind of success stories? That you know, anybody met with the legislator and want to talk about how that went down, or working on just the development of the flyer? Anybody want to share anything along that line? Put your hand up. Go ahead, Paul.
Well, I originally am from Georgia, And I had plenty of successful stories working with legislators in my former state. I'm trying to work with my legislators. The problem is I need to know what is the issues we need in Florida so I can delegate it better, because I have to have know what the issue is. If there's like, when I first started my advocacy, there was a bill in the Georgia state legislature called ABA's law, which was a insurance bill for covering ABA therapy. Florida has something similar to it. I'm not sure what it's called, but I
So
know
let's make it personal. Tell
Yeah.
me, you know, are you running into any barriers in your transition from Georgia to Florida?
The problem I'm seeing is I'm having trouble. I just don't know when what legislators I need to talk to about what, because I don't have like an issue, like an issue. If what I'm saying is basically is I'm not, there has to be a topic that I have to talk about. I'm on the
Okay.
I have Asperger's myself, but there has to be an issue that's going through the state legislators that
I'll give you the answer.
Okay.
The most important issue is that the Agency for Persons with Disabilities, under federal court order, eventually the agency was created,
Mhm.
and it was to provide an alternative to institutional care
Yeah.
in people's homes and in their community.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
issue became, when it was set up,
Mm.
it was a program that was based upon money provided by the legislature, but they
Mhm.
weren't put in the social services estimating conference with all the rest of Medicaid. And so what happened is APD has been in conflict about the difference between medical necessity and budget control.
Mhm.
So we're trying to free up the
Mhm.
agency to be able to meet the medically necessary needs
Okay.
and to be able to have that be the most response, because that's the barrier when you've
Mhm.
taken an agency for year after year and they haven't had enough money and they've gotten a lot of trouble when they've ever gone over spending money,
Yeah.
that
I
they're
I I have
that's the big
experience
issue.
when I graduated from high school. I had experience with state government facilities helping me. So I could see that they're not fulfilling what they're supposed to do. That's what I could see in the situation that you just described.
Well,
Am I
there's
correct?
25,000 people waiting
Mhm.
for
Wait.
services right now,
Yeah.
and there's about 35,000 being served.
Mm.
But you know, there is a real big gap right now,
Mhm.
and it's been the system has been very challenged. COVID has had a big impact on provider
Mhm.
capacity.
Mhm.
Inflation has certainly impacted providers' ability to meet the needs.
Mhm.
The systems have become very cumbersome in bureaucracy, and
Mhm.
it's been very difficult to have the
Mhm.
urgency of a crisis
Mhm.
reflected in the timing of the response of the agency. Like,
Okay.
if I call the fire department because my house is on fire, that's a crisis, right?
Right. You expect the
And,
firemen to come to your house.
and I'm counting on them to show up and
Mhm.
help, where you might be identified that you had a crisis, but it could be months before there's actually
Mhm.
services actually happening.
Mhm.
So we want to be able to create the real human services approach to this, where that
Mhm.
legislator isn't just looking at a policy, he's thinking about that person that was sitting in
He's thinking,
front
they're
that
thinking
day.
of the constituent in their district that could benefit from this.
Exactly. And maybe they're asking, hey, we've got this legislature that we're thinking about doing. What do you think about it? Do you think it would help you, or do you think it would hurt you? And that's what the idea here is. We give you some tools to help tell the story, have like a business card, a
Mhm.
face that goes in, because a phone call disappears, an email kind of disappears, but there's something about a picture that people get. There's something about keeping it short, sweet, to the point. I can remember that. And
Yeah.
that's what we want. We want to make you memorable. We want
Correct.
to make you be seen as not only I may have needs, but I'm also here to help
Mhm.
with solutions because it's not just me, it's my family too,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so what I would suggest is spend a little bit of time looking around at the Facebook page,
Mm-hmm.
the We the People for the People Facebook page, and there's a couple of things that are helpful there. There's a really good handout that talks about the Social Services Estimating Conference and explains it, and we'll
Mm.
continue to go into detail about that. That's probably one of the most the primary issues because,
Mm-hmm.
right, for instance, right now, APD would say, well, I could estimate we got 25,000 people that are waiting that we need to bring on board, and this is how much it's going to cost. And they're
Mm.
not in a position to even do that right now. They're in a position of saying, tell us how much money we've got and we'll do the best we can.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a real gap between those two approaches to meeting
Okay.
with these individuals. It's also very complicated sometimes between the Agency for Healthcare Administration and APD with children birth to 21.
Mm-hmm.
One of the goals of the waiver when it was conceived in Florida, it was
Mhm.
very important, and I was involved in this, it was very important to include children birth to 21 that
Mhm.
would be served under the early periodic screening, diagnostics, and treatment federal protections of the state Medicaid plan for children.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that the big barrier really is that children in Medicaid are considered part, if you're under the age of 18, whatever your
Mhm.
family household brings in is what you make.
Mhm.
So since Medicaid is a poverty program,
Mhm.
the idea was families that had children with developmental needs and complex, medical and behavioral and medical needs, they were having to be impoverished to divorce, to quit jobs, to get under the poverty level so the family could get Medicaid to provide the care for a child that couldn't get it otherwise.
Correct.
And so the goal was to help also break the cycle of poverty
Mhm.
that families are forced into because of those needs. So the waiver for children birth from 3 to 21, one of the things that the Home and Community Based Services waives is instead of counting the whole family, we'll count the child 3 to
Mhm.
21 as a family of one.
Okay.
And as long as that person would qualify for Social Security, SSI, because when you get SSI, you automatically get Medicaid.
Yeah.
And you have to get Medicaid in order to get Med waiver. So the issue has been there's still way, way too many families with younger children trapped trying to either qualify for Medicaid or struggling profoundly and losing jobs, losing homes, losing careers to provide the care. So another big priority is to address the ability for the 3 to 21 population wait list to be brought on
Mhm.
utilizing the Agency for Healthcare Administration state Medicaid plan, which
Mhm.
would significantly reduce, on a short-term basis at least, the economics of APD because the Agency for Healthcare Administration, another budget, a huge, much bigger budget than APD, would be paying for those folks. So
Okay.
that's another big issue. And the third big issue that we're really looking at is preventing managed care
Mhm.
taking over in this population. For
Mhm.
decades now, we have tried to carve out, protect developmental disabilities from managed care where companies get a fixed amount of money per client regardless of their need, and that company is there to manage the access to that care.
Mhm.
Because the challenge is folks with developmental disabilities many times fall outside the average cost and cost a lot more. So there's a pilot currently that has been passed to start to help address the wait list by introducing in a few select counties a Medicaid managed care pilot in mid-labor.
Okay.
And so what we're asking for is, instead of changing this program, fund it properly by getting it connected with the right governmental entities, the estimating conferences, to be able to get the budgets properly addressed. And by doing that, we think we can significantly improve the situation, because there's just been a huge shortage of money. Is that
Okay.
helpful?
That is helpful.
So that's what we want to kind of focus our energies on. I know we all have war stories of disappointment and frustration and all those kinds of things. I get
Tell
that.
me about it. Tell me about it.
But then, but if that's all we talk about, that they're just going to be like whack, 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 and then that will just be dismissed. If you can be able, and that's kind of what the flyers help do, is it kind of gives you a really concise bullet story.
And the flyers are on the Facebook page as well.
Yeah, there's an intake form there that you can it's on the Facebook page, okay? And then what Stephanie's done a brilliant job, and you'll see a whole bunch of different examples. They don't all look the same. They don't all have exactly the same format, but it's pretty much a picture, 3 bullet points of what's good, what's cool, what do you like, what you into, kind of stuff. And then whether it be, here's they've been anything from a brief letter to a legislator, to a story, to a thank you, to an explanation of here's an issue that we can make better. And what's happening is, again, you're in there for 30 minutes, a half, 40 minutes, an hour, whatever, when you can leave behind something. And if you can also leave behind somebody going, wow, that's what we're supposed to do here. This is what government is really supposed to do. And they're not, you're not just there going, meh, 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 meh. Now you can be mad, but if you're only mad, you just get tuned out, and it's like, whoa, that thing, they'll be watching their clock. If they start watching their watch, you're not winning.
Yeah.
So being able to use these strategies, another thing that's on the website is a 7-step process for meeting with, preparing for, and following up with a legislative meeting. Really good, simple ideas, because, we might not think, oh, I'm not smart enough, I don't know enough about this, they don't really care about me. That's not true. If you go to their office, now you're family. You're in their neighborhood, you're in their office, and you're telling the truth. That is so way more important. And again, we're trying to get 5 to 10 constituents from each, to speak at these delegation, or at least show up at these delegation meetings, because we want their attention. But then also behind the scenes, you've got Stephanie meeting with the president of the Senate and the chief health planning committee advisors, and providing them information and giving them ideas.
I also find it easy to talk to my legislators, but also legislators that don't represent me. That's how I figure stuff gets done. I remember my legislator was on a committee that was looking at a bill. I wrote my story. I think I wrote a story, my personal story, and handed to each legislator's aide in that committee.
That's correct. And so what we're saying is that right now, if we're looking at this legislative session and the processes that go on, the committee meetings are just starting to happen. The session's in January, it's over in March. But if you're not on the menu now, if you don't make it into the committees, if you don't start to become a priority, if you don't start to get into the language of bills, it's really hard to nearly impossible to squish something in at the end. We want to be in at the very beginning, and that's why talking to those folks from those committees and those legislative aides and talking to those folks that are on those committees at the beginning, we plant some seeds of solution. The
Okay.
more that we have, if they keep hearing this social services estimating conference over and over again. And I heard it, next thing I know, they're sitting around a cafeteria and both of them start telling stories about somebody that came to their office and told them an incredible story, handed them this flyer and then made this suggestion. It starts to gets to be serious, because they're like, whoa, this wasn't just some lobbyist. This wasn't just some special interest. This is my constituents. This is my people in my community. And it's a night and day. And guess who has reappeared? Stephanie is in the house. I see her there. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
What's going on? What'd you hear?
Holy moly, man. That Allison Rep Tant just came and gave her story. And like, she's a twin mom. And I don't even know, but she has put 10 bills together, and 8 of them are for the developmental disability community. And she just said to every single person in the room, which there's like a lot more than I thought there was going to be here, that if you want to get stuff done, go to your local legislators and share your story. Let them get to know you. Straight out of her mouth, it was like, holy moly, we're on to something. It's absolutely incredible energy in there. We're gonna go dance and eat soon. I'm like eating all this gum because I'm starving. But this is awesome. It's like our message amplified in this setting. So I don't know what you guys have been talking about, but I missed you. I want to say hi.
I'll tell you what we've been talking about. We've been talking about I couldn't get the website up and do the switches on my iPad, so we've just been chatting, and we talked a little bit about what are our priorities, and the 3 priorities we're really looking at: the social services estimating conference, trying to eliminate the wait list and really fully utilize the 3 to 21, get those families in early and help them off and spread the wealth across to the Agency for Healthcare Administration, and to provide an alternative to the spread of the managed care by properly funding this program so that it can address those needs and not be replaced. And that's kind of what we've been talking about.
Okay, so what I hear you saying is you want me to share the screen and show everybody what we're talking about? Can we do that? All right,
can you do that?
You disabled my participant sharing.
How do I
disable me?
disable you?
No, that's stretching me.
So I think what we can do is you can just put the link to the Facebook page into
Yeah, let
the
me go
chat, and
ahead
anybody
and
can
do
go
all
there and they can
that.
look at it on their own and follow up afterwards.
I would really, even if you did submit your story, I'd like you to go on here and read everybody else's. There isn't a single thing anyone wrote that wasn't incredibly impactful and completely relatable, whether we're a DD family or not. Beautiful, absolute touching information. And I am going to find that chatty thing, chat, and post a link.
Okay.
And then
And so
I'm
what you
gonna,
just heard from Representative Tate, a mom, is make it real. So one of the other things that will happen over the next few weeks and beyond is the emergence of bills, the emergence of language, the emergence of real solutions that we can choose to get behind and be able to support, because we understand the language. We can be part of refining the language. And so that's, right now we've kind of got a foundation that is really based upon, first and foremost, get connected with your local, make it real, tell your story in a way that can be heard, know that you're a resource that's a much more powerful resource than you may have ever gave yourself credit for, and that our stories are impactful and that they can change not only your family, But I can tell you there are thousands of families that have been impacted about what people did 30 years ago. And we want to do it again. We want to do it
Can you
more.
guys see what I'm doing in the chat? Does that come up like those pictures? Okay. So the first one, this one is 7 easy steps. If you follow those 7 steps, you're gonna have a good time with your legislator and things are gonna happen. And then the second one, this is one of the parents that reached out to me this week, and
Stephanie, this is a gal from our area on the Treasure Coast, and she stole the show. I thought I went in there and was just letting it out because I'm, you know, a mom as well. But this Renata and her daughter just stole the show. And so I just thought Toby Ovendorf was impacted, asked her questions, and was thoroughly engaged with her.
You know, like I'm instant. He's her representative over in St. Lucie County.
Yes. And Palm Beach. I mean, and Martin, I'm sorry.
Instant tears, like it just even now. But when she reached out, she was really nervous because English is her second language. And her representative didn't care. He got the message. And what I told mom was like, our first language here is love. These are our babies. This is us. And all she did was go speak her truth. Like there is a ton of paperwork. We work on that. That's honest. That's real truth. And she said it went really well. And there's a couple other parents that have done the same thing. One of the, here, I'll try to see if I can find it. One of the ones that really like went straight to the core was the mom who hasn't even applied yet. She's got a baby. She's got a 7-year-old. And right now we're in survival mode. And I remember that I got to take the kids to therapies XYZ. There's nobody here but me anymore. And I can't even comprehend at the end of a day that has been a day of days to go fill out that application and figure out what all those documents are. Could you help with that? And what a beautiful way. Like, that's the truth. I didn't even know how to ask for that. You know, I think she even said, here, I'm gonna find it. You know, like, I just want to go under my covers. And that's how I felt every day for a long time, is just, when is it over? When can I get through this?
And Stephanie, would you talk for just a minute about how advocacy has helped you?
A minute, Tom? I don't know about that. I would love to talk about that, but I'm distracted now because I wanted to find that mom. Yes, all right, I'm just gonna abandon that. Before we end this, when I started to get involved into this with advocacy, I was a mess. My son had just fell out of a window and I didn't know if he was gonna live, die, what would be next. His identical twin brother was immediately in crisis right thereafter because mom and brother were gone, school was gone. And I felt very hopeless and like, what's the point? And as soon as I made the choice to say, you know what, I'm gonna try this. You know, I'm just gonna call somebody. I'm gonna reach out and see what the options were. It was like a bam, instant, like, wait a second, there's a solution. There's always a solution. And these are the people. I just kind of stumbled into this. I had no idea when I went to legislators if they were even the people to talk to. And they were. And I didn't connect on to them any level except like, hey, I'm a mom and I don't know what to do. And it has just grown from there. This has been like a very challenging time in my life. And every single time I've engaged in advocacy, especially when I've talked to other families and realized I'm not alone, they're not alone. And if we could get together on this, we are like super powerful. And now it's fun. Like, even though like it's not fun, but it is fun. Like, it's so wonderful to hear people who are just like me. Like, I'm not any sort of novice or veteran at this. Just say, hey, I need help. And to see them have the same thing that happened to me, where I wasn't sure I wanted to live anymore. You know what I'm saying? And now I have a thirst. I don't want to just live. I want to live well. I want my kids to live well. I want their friends to live well. I want us all to have these happy, independent lives. Um, it's been incredible. I could talk for like 17 hours on this, but I won't.
Stephanie, the most important thing is that the leadership helps provide some internal supports, and it creates a purpose, and it helps you feel like you're fighting your way forward rather than just having everything piling on top of you. And I think sometimes just kind of trying to clear the way by just pushing forward. And that's what we're here for, is to tell these stories, to put a face to a name, to help you have some step to step, and to give you the confidence to believe you don't have to be some fancy lobbyist. You just got to be a mom or dad or an individual with disabilities. Tell your story, be real, be honest, and you know what? We are going to impact things.
So did you say the thing yet?
What
I mean,
thing? No, you
the
said.
birthday thing? The birthday thing?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I said the thing. Oh my gosh.
That
Okay.
you at Berthy is going to be joining on in the future, and then we're going to hear an awful lot of the story about what we're doing is not new. This is what got us here the first time, and this is what's going to get us back the second time to even better than the first time. And so, it is 7 o'clock. Stephanie's got dinner waiting for her. We all do,
so.
Or we need to. So I want to wish you all a wonderful Friday. I know this was a little bit of a crazy one, but again, know you have purpose, know you have a voice, take advantage of these tools, believe that we can do this, and we can. We'll see you all next Friday.
Next Friday, we're going to do Life as Normal, and Berthy's going to join us. JJ and his mom, Allison, are going to come join us. And if you have met with your legislator and you want to share with the group, let us know. Like, we want to hear from everyone about your voice, because it's different than mine and Tom's. And please tell your people, tell more people about this. This is the coolest thing ever. It's working. And we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.